What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's session, we're talking to Vicky Lopez from Pronto Finance, and I'm very excited to have her on the show. You know, I really dig what she's doing with social media and how she's documenting. I think that's the future when it comes to these platforms. It's a very engaging way to connect with potential clients and as well to create content that resonates with a particular audience. Make sure to tune in because this is a lot of good insights, a lot of good information here. Also, if you haven't done so, please make sure to share this episode, share this podcast with somebody that can benefit from the information so that they can take it back to the dealer and implement in their day-to-day. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's check it out. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. My co-host, Eric Nelson, is running a little bit late. He's at the dealership making some deals. But I just wanted to get this guest on the show, so let's get rolling. One of the areas that I've always wanted to talk about is the finance side of the house, and in particular, how the partners that we have in the dealership can help us kind of differentiate ourselves. And the person I have on the show is somebody that I've been following on social media. I really, really like her content. I think she's doing some pretty cool stuff, and I think she's going to have a lot of insights for us. So I'm very excited to have the guest and the honor to have Ms. Vicky Lopez on the show. Vicky, how are you?
What's up, Herb? I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Oh yeah, it's awesome to have you on. And like I said, I kind of dig what you're doing. I like how you're utilizing social media, and I'm just excited to have a conversation with you. So you go by Victoria or Vicky? What's your preference?
I go by Vicky. The business cards say Victoria, but I go by Vicky.
All right. So, first question I always ask is, could you just give us a little bit of a recap, for the audience?
Oh, definitely. So Vicky Lopez, and I am a bank rep for a finance company located out here in Chicago. So currently we service dealers in Illinois, Wisconsin, and actually, we just opened up Texas too. So what I do personally is I'm responsible for the Chicagoland area, and I go out into the field every day and sign up new dealerships, for example, franchise and independent, to work with Pronto Finance, which is really cool because I get to meet so many great people every day. But to be honest with you, my main focus is really in helping all of my dealers close more deals. So I go out and I sit with the F&I managers and the sales managers, and I'm basically conducting save the deal meetings all day long, every day, whether it's finding more gross for the dealership or, less fees, more money, different terms, that kind of thing, to make sure that they close more deals, to even calling the customers and saying, hey, you're pre-approved, go pick up your car, that sort of a thing. So my job, the way I look at it, honestly, is to add value to each and every dealer as much as I can so that they can generate more business, because then in turn, of course, I'm going to generate more business, right? That's how I look at it.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. Absolutely. I mean, and I can see that. That's, again, I mean, I see your posts and you could tell that you're very engaged, and I'm sure your dealer clients are just stoked to have you as their, I don't like the word rep, so I'm going to say as their trusted advisor, right? So, before we kind of get into what I consider the nitty gritty, right, and talk about specifics at the dealership level, I want to kind of start things off with social media, and the reason I want to do that is because I see you utilizing the platforms to obviously promote yourself and let people know who you are and what you do. But it's a very genuine message that you have, and it really conveys in a way that you can just tell that you care about what you do. And so my question is, How do you see social media playing a role? Like, how is it helping you currently? And most importantly, what do you think that dealerships can do when it comes to social media to kind of help them gain an edge? Excuse me.
Oh, Herb. I mean, you're speaking to my heart. How much time do we have right now?
Let's go.
So,
As time as we need.
for me, in the time that we're living right now, social media is everything. And let me just start off by saying, personally speaking, I don't really even have a Facebook or Instagram page. You will not find me. I started doing this for Pronto as part of the business, right? And my idea with Pronto Finance was, well, we're just a local company that mainly we're in Chicago and Wisconsin. You know, we just broke out into Texas, but that's so new. So my idea 3 years ago when I first started the social stuff was, hey, why don't we give our dealers a look into who we are as people? You know, right now in the finance world and potentially the world in general, you call anybody, you're going to get an automated message. You have a computer buying your paper. You're rehashing with a computer. Everything is done on the computer. And maybe you'll have a rep or a buyer to say, yeah, maybe we can make an exception, this and that. But for the most part, you're working with a computer, right? So my thought was, wouldn't it be amazing if they can see the people behind the computers? If all of our dealers can not just know who their reps are in person, but these are your buyers, these are your funders, that's your titles girl. You know, this is who we are. And thereby we can gain more business because we have more of that entrenched relationship with every single one of our dealers because they know our faces, you know, and in life, and especially in this business, it's all about relationships. And what social media allows me and my company to do is really put that relationship with the dealer first. So you asked me how it helps me personally with what I do. I have signed dealers off of Instagram and I've signed dealers off of Facebook, you know, cold calls, basically people cold calling me and saying, hey, can you help my dealership over here? And absolutely, let's go. And I have people calling me from out of state saying, can you help me? And I'm like, no, unfortunately I can't, you know, but
Yeah, but I mean, you can tell that it works. I mean, if you're to that level, that's pretty amazing.
100%. And remember, I'm so nichey, right? I mean, I'm in the car business buying deals in my market. It's a very niche market. What Pronto does is very nichey. If I have somebody in Colorado asking to work with me, and equate that to the dealership, you can sell a car to somebody in Colorado, right? So why aren't you using social media to do the same thing? So actually, what I mentioned before in my little intro was that I see myself as someone who adds value to the dealer. That's my goal. How can I add value to you? And right now, what I do for the dealerships too is I'll talk to them about their marketing. What can they do to do more with social media and get more customers that I can buy for them, you know? So we talk about social media all the time, from what kind of posts they can do to what kind of videos they can do. And this is tough stuff, Herb, to be honest. Social media doesn't just come naturally to anyone, including myself. It's tough to be in front of a camera and it's tough to put yourself out there. But what my hope for all of my dealerships is that they can slowly become more and more comfortable with it so that they can put their people out there and develop the relationships that I've developed with my dealers. The dealership would develop that kind of relationship with their own community, thereby sell more cars. And to be honest with you, I see social media for the dealership as something that's not just for the sales team. I know everyone's constantly talking about the sales team, and that's what maybe the go-to thought is because they're on the front lines. But I see social media more as something that can show all of the customers the behind the scenes of the dealership. What I mean by that is show me everyone. Show me the service team. Show me the finance team. Show me the porters. Show me everybody. And what I mean behind the scenes is, let's take the box, for example. So you have a lot of finance people who are like, well, I can't be on camera. I have nothing to say. I can't add value, to a Facebook post or what have you. But think about all of the YouTube videos out there, for example, that are telling all of the customers, this is how you beat the F&I manager. You know, this is why you should not sell or this is why you should not buy a warranty. This is how they're trying to get you, right? Think of all of those YouTube videos out there. And that's what the F&I manager is competing against, right? So what if that F&I manager played that YouTube video and paused it and said, well, this is why that guy's full of crap. And then played it and said, well, this is why that guy's wrong, you know? And
I love that. So creative.
Absolutely. It's transparency. It's being genuine. It's being honest. It's saying, listen, I get what is out there in the world on social, on YouTube. I get what my customer is listening to. And listen, that's not us. Maybe that's the stigma that's in the car business. Maybe that's even the dealership down the street. I don't know, but that's not us. My name is Vicky and I'm in finance and this is what I'm going to do for you. These are my products. This is what they cover. This is what they don't cover. You know, if you only drive this many miles, you don't need that product. But if you drive this many miles, you need this protection. You know what I mean? But put that stuff out there in social so that the people in the community will start to trust you. And here's the thing, Herb, if you think about it, if every department starts putting out these trust videos, what I call them lovingly, then the customer is going to come into the dealership. Well, actually, let me back up. Because right now, we're all competing with CarGurus, Auto Trader. This is all a race to the bottom, right? All of these sites, in my personal opinion, I know I might offend somebody, but in my personal opinion, all of these sites are a race to the bottom. So if the customer is in your showroom, it's because you won and they're still going to negotiate, right? But if you have a social media presence that elicits trust from the community with posts such as the ones I just mentioned in the finance office, then even if you have your car on CarGurus and it shows that you're, let's say, $3,000 more expensive for round figures than the next guy. But if I'm the consumer and I know your name and I don't know the other guy's name, the other store's name, guess who I'm going to go to? Because I trust you. So I'm thinking these social media posts that elicit trust from the community, they're going to get you more customers in the door, more ups in the door. Plus, they're going to allow you to hold gross. They're going to allow you to negotiate less. You're saving time. You're selling more products because they trust you before they walked in, Herb. You hear me?
Absolutely. Oh my God. I totally agree with almost everything you've said. It's so good.
It's so easy though. Even service. Take service, for example. If I showed you the parts that I'm changing out, like, look, this is Mrs. Lopez. These are the brake pads that she had. Take a picture of it. These are the brake pads that we changed. I'm saying brake pads because I don't know what other components are in a car. But if you show me before and after pictures, you know, show me what's going on, even in a detail, you know, something straight off the auction. I would love this on the independent side too. If an independent gets something from the auction and says, look, we just got this Chevy Cruze. It's super yucky. You know, it needs this, this, and this. I would never sell you this car. And then show them the after picture where it's detailed and beautiful. And we changed this, 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 this. Now it's ready to go. You know what I mean? That elicits trust because especially on the independent side, the customer's thinking, how am I going to get taken advantage of? Blah, blah, blah. But if you show them with posts such as these, the work and the time and the money that you put into the car before you sell it, well, come on now. It cuts down negotiation time and lets me hold gross, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that was going to be my addition is don't just make it for the front of the house. Use it for service as well because, oh my God, what you said is just perfect. So many.
Oh, 100%.
So many good things. A couple of things I want to kind of develop the thoughts here really quick. The first thing that comes to mind that you talked about was how to use those social media platforms like in the box, right? And that's probably one of the areas that where maybe the person feels the most intimidated. Like you said, how can I add value, right? Do you have anybody that's that's doing that in your network, that's doing anything like that that's effective? Maybe somebody that and without naming names, but maybe like, do you see anybody kind of capitalizing on that?
I wish I could say that I do have somebody, but Herb, unfortunately, I don't know of anybody who is doing that. In my travels, every day talking to dealers, I give them these sorts of tips and advice, and I'm like, what if you could do this, or what if you could do that? And some are starting to pick up the iPhone more, if you will, and starting to do a little bit more videos, and kudos to them, 100%. Because this is such a mind shift, right? Even that's why personally what I've done is I'm like, okay, if I have this thinking, but the dealership is trying to get over this hurdle, what I've started doing for a lot of my dealers is making videos for them and posting them for them so that I can kind of help them on the way. And then I'll be in the video with them so that I can ask the dealership questions that they can answer. And then it's more of a comfortable setting. And the reason why I do that is because I feel like right now the mentality is just commercial. We're making a commercial. No. These Facebook videos, YouTube videos, these are not commercials. This is a glimpse into the box. This is a glimpse into the F&I office. This is a glimpse behind the service doors. It's such a secretive place back there. This is a backstage view of what goes on at the dealership. It's not a commercial. Because as soon as you hear commercial, you're thinking, somebody who's putting on a show, and that's not real. What we need to show our customers so that they trust us, so that they buy more cars and we hope more grows, is we need to show them the real, true us. We have this stigma in the car business, and that's what we're up against. So if we show them the truth, then we can slowly start to climb that mountain, right? So right now, no, Herb, I don't have a lot of dealerships who are doing this, but I would love to help them get there 100%.
Yeah, I when I first started doing content that kind of led to the podcast, I just saw a huge deficit. I'm happy to say that in the last year I've seen more and more people kind of take the plunge and start doing videos and content and stuff like that. And I only have to assume that that's going to continue to grow. But you said something that I also wanted to make sure that we came back to, and you said you got to make them, it has to be genuine, right? And what you said right now about the commercial, like that's, I never looked at it like that, but you're absolutely right. Like sometimes it feels like they're putting on a character once that red button goes on, and they don't, it's kind of hard to disassociate that this is for social media. What you should be trying to portray is what the customer can expect when they're at your dealership, right? And just show them the real truth. So, how do you think that some dealers can do that more effectively when it comes to social?
I think, and this answer might not be what people want to hear, but I think it's just going to be practice. It's just going to be doing it. Your first video, it's going to suck, you guys. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Myself personally, I've had a few people ask me how many takes I do before I put it up there. And I'm like, one. That's it. That's me. That's what I thought of. That's what I said. That's what I look like. That's what I put up, and it's kind of like when we were starting this podcast and I emailed you and I'm like, is there a list of questions? What are we doing? And you said it's a conversation. You don't know. And I'm like, oh shit. But it's like that. You just have to put yourself out there. And if people challenge themselves to just take a video and just do it, then slowly it just will get easier and easier and more natural. Because it is not easy to be in front of the camera. I can't go into the dealership and say, oh yeah, just do it, get over yourself and do it. No. I get it. It's very, very hard, but it's going to be just doing it. And maybe the dealers can take a video and not post it, maybe just sit on it, get comfortable with it, and then do a video the next day and then post it. It's like a diet. Eat a little bit less one day and then a little bit less. And I don't know, but something to get comfortable with it. And that's why I thought of the idea of just doing videos with my dealers. Because if you have a buddy standing next to you, then okay, you can play off each other. If you blank, then the other person can jump right in, that kind of a thing. So it's not all on you. So maybe kind of a buddy system. Plus, it's also really shitty having to be the person on camera because you feel really subconscious with the person who's filming you. So maybe get a tripod and just roll with that on just you and your buddy that's on camera with you so that you don't feel too self-conscious. Maybe those little things. But honestly, it's just doing it again and again until you're comfortable. And sooner than later, you will be comfortable, to be honest. Because it's fun. It's a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was Zig Ziglar, and I don't know if he quoted this, but this is who I heard it from. But he said, anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly until you can do it well, right? So that's just, these are the times that we live in, and, creating content and building your personal brand. I think that's just going to be more and more prevalent.
100%. And I think, too, what people struggle with is, what do I put up there? What do I say? I have nothing to say. I'm a porter. What do I say? No. You have a lot to say, So what I would encourage dealers to do in every department, no matter what department, if you're hearing my voice, no matter what department you're in, write a list of objections, write a list of concerns, write a list of fears. What are the fears your customer has, the objections that they have? In the F&I office, this is obvious. The sales floor, this is obvious. We have training sessions on this. But in service, what are the fears that your customers have? What are the objections that they have? Write all of those down. I'm thinking things like price, negotiation. If I'm a woman, I don't have a big, strong man to negotiate for me. I have my kids. How much time does this take? Do I get a loan? All of these things. Write a huge list of these and then make content to that. Because that's the hurdle. That's what people are saying. That's why people are going to Carvana Herb, because I can do that shit on my couch. I don't need to worry about negotiation, my kids, my time, my dinner. That's why. And that's the enemy, right?
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And, like Eric always says that it's, and I totally agree with him. And these are going to be people are going to look at this as part of your profile for a job, right? And does this person build content? Let me go on LinkedIn. Let's see what videos they're posting and that sort of thing. And it's a differentiator for you just as an individual. So, I totally agree. There's such power in it. And again, I just want to commend you because I know that I follow the stuff that you put out there, and it's really cool. I like it. I dig it. And I'm just glad that we have an opportunity to have that conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
On the show. I want to say welcome to the Viking. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Buddy. It's so fantastic.
It's always good to have you on the show, buddy.
I love what she's saying about the whole social media and getting out of your own fear. And I always viewed social media, not to over talk her, but I just want to, because I want to enhance what she's trying to say there, because I totally agree with what she's saying. But those fears that we have, I've always viewed it as a point where, what is the documentation I can use for my own sales staff, my family maybe? What is the documentation I can use to prove that, at one time I was scared to death of this situation and I was able to overcome it? And, there's growth to be had there. And I think especially in your vulnerabilities and showing that on camera, it allows for other people to try too. So, I totally agree with what you say.
So, Vicky, let's dive a little bit deeper into kind of what you do. And you said something early on, and I kind of want to explore that. So you talked about, independence and, new car stores. And I just kind of wanted to ask, what are some of the main differences that you're seeing right now? Obviously, with used cars, kind of dominating, like how is that impacting that side of the business? And in particular, is there any takeaways that we can leave for one or the other, right? Because the goal is always to, leave some tips, something that people can take back to the dealership, and implement in their day to day.
Yeah, sure. So I guess right now, and that one's tricky for me because it's funny, people who are listening to this who know me are going to laugh because to me, there's no difference between independent and franchise to me. There are a lot of people who look at them differently and the kind of cars that they sell and the kind of people that they have on staff, for example, but I don't. To me, they're the same. They have staff members who switch back and forth between independent and franchise. The goal is the same, sell more cars. My goal is to buy their deals and fund them, no matter what kind of dealership it is. But there is something funky going on right now in the Chicago market with the used cars, as you mentioned, because everything right now at the auctions, for example, is super, super high. I mean, MMRs are super high. So all of the dealers are basically, or rather MMRs are low. So all of the dealers are buying everything at the auctions above retail. So and MMR isn't reflecting that. So it's killing advances right now. So what we've had to do at Pronto Finance is we've had to raise our advances a little bit because just to keep in line. I mean, I have dealers that are calling me and saying, Vicky, I'm not making a profit on this deal. I can't put it together. And to me, that is what I like to call a rehashable offense. So I rehash that with my buyers and I'm like, they're not making enough money. We need to move numbers around. I have dealers sending me their auction sheets. I have them sending me all of the what they did to the car to recondition it to get it ready to sell, so that we can take all of that into account when we buy the deal. Because right now, like I said, MMR just is not reflecting, NADA is not reflecting what people are paying at the auctions. And that's affecting franchise and independent. Because right now, the market is pretty soft on the subprime. So you have a lot of customers who 3-5 years ago would be trading their cars, and they're not right now. So franchises aren't seeing as many trades as they were. So they're going to the auctions and they're buying with a little bit deeper pockets, which is keeping prices high. I mean, it's a whole big situation, right? So like I said, Pronto, we've had to raise our advances a little bit when it makes sense. What I would tell my dealers is that just make sure you have that really strong relationship with your lenders, with your reps, with your buyers, so that you can have those kind of conversations like I do with my dealers of I'm not making enough money, but I changed this and that and I put this much money into it. I had a dealer yesterday who's like, I need $300 more on the deal because I changed the struts. And I'm like, okay, but these are all things we need to take into account. As the lender, I see myself as a business partner with the dealership. I can't do deals if they don't do deals. So how do we get together to make sure the deal gets done? And if I need to make sure you get money for your struts, well, hell, here's $300, But it's on the lender too. I've heard a lot of stories from different dealers, franchise and independent, that they don't see their reps come by and they don't have really strong relationships with their lenders. And that's why, in my opinion, you see a lot of places shotgunning deals, for example, because they don't know exactly what the buying program is at their different banks. And that's why they're just shotgunning deals. If I see somebody shotgunning deals left and right, to me, that means that there's a breakdown in communication at the bank. For Pronto Finance, actually, what we do is if our buying team sees a deal come through that's completely out of program, the first thing that they do is they contact the rep and they're like, you got to go out there and talk to this fella in person because he doesn't know what the hell, So then we go out there and we're like, this is the program. This is what we do. My goal is to make sure every single one of my dealers knows the buying program as well as I do, so that they're not just throwing that spaghetti and hoping it sticks. Nobody wants that.
You know what? I love that. And you said, again, continuing on what we talked about earlier, but you said that you would even go in there and work the phones, talk to the customers, do all that Tell me a little bit about that, because to me that seems a little unusual. I mean, look, I've never been in the box, so that's not an area that that's my forte. I'm a fixed ops guy, but that seems a little unusual, and I just kind of want to explore that because it sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, so it is a little unusual for sure. I'm not sure of other banks that do this, and please don't. That's what we do. Don't you guys start doing that. Yeah. But what we do, like for instance, if I hear a dealer tell me that a deal didn't get made because the customer never came back, which never happens, but in case it does, if they tell me that, then what we can do is we can call the customer and say, hey, we're the bank. You're approved. Go get your car. Why haven't you gotten your car? So if the customer starts asking us about numbers, what's the rate, what's the term, blah, 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 we just tell them the dealer has all of that information. You go get it. Just go in. That's all that we say. So we don't go over numbers. We don't try to sell the car, sell the customer, sell the none of that stuff. No numbers whatsoever. We just tell them you're approved. It's ready. Go get it. And sometimes the customer's like, oh shit, the bank called. I got to go. And other customers are like, no, I bought somewhere else, what have you. But then I can still go to my dealer and say, they bought somewhere else. Don't even waste more energy on them either,
Oh, wow. That's really cool. I like that. That's very interesting. Do you see kind of like a universal issue, like at every store, that's like frustrating that I don't want to say it's a simple fix, but maybe something that you could say, like, I see this often, and this is a way to kind of overcome that? Because if it's something that you're running into regularly, then obviously, that could be a takeaway, right, for anybody listening in.
Yeah, you know what? Right now, and that's something that I do ask my dealers a lot. I ask them what we could be doing better as a lender, but also just in general, what could your banks be doing better? Because I never want to get comfortable. I always want to be doing better. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing right now is that everyone just needs more customers. And then we run full circle to the social media stuff, right? But honestly, yeah, that's the biggest issue that I'm hearing right now is just where's the up bus? Who's driving it? Can we get their GPS system to relocate over here? And other than that, just making sure that they have that relationship with the banks. Because the other thing that I'm hearing a lot of, to be honest with you, is that the dealers don't know how a bank is going to buy. I don't know if that's because of specifically the market that I'm in, which is Chicago, that banks do that funky thing where if it's slow, they open up the books, and if it's busy, then they close the books down, So dealers really don't even know. I had a dealer one day tell me that there's like 1 month where their bank buys a certain kind of customer with a certain kind of ID, and there's a month where they don't. So that dealer has no idea what's going on with the buying program at that bank, which is just a shame, because how can you sell cars that way?
Yeah.
So you have to know what your banks are doing and how they're buying. But it's up to the bank to make sure everybody has all of that information, obviously.
Vicky, that leads me to a question, because I mean, that's, from the dealership aspect, from the dealership side, with the higher prices at auctions and whatnot that you've talked about, what are you doing to kind of keep the trust with the relationship strong with the dealerships? Because they're just as scared as you are for the one receiving the contract as the one us trying to get the deal done. I mean, what do you do to ensure the relationship remains strong? I mean, are there advantages or practices that you approach it from? And I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Sure. Do you mean literally the relationship between the bank and the dealership, or do you mean how to ensure that deals get funded? What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, specifically seeing a landscape where the prices are going higher. Are you guys strategizing for that? I mean, you doing something that you're more communication with the dealerships in order to say, listen, everything's okay. We're right here for you. We're right here with you. We're going to go ahead and account for that stuff too. I mean, I know you got the extra documentations for auction sheets and ROs and whatnot. I mean, are you strategizing? Are you guys talking about that stuff now, headed into the future? Because who knows what that's going to be like?
Yes, it's definitely all about communication. So I mentioned that we can do a little bit higher advances when it warrants it, that we look at the auction sheets, how much they put into it, of course. But then we can't forget portfolios, right? So the relationship between the bank and the dealer is not just the deal that's in front of me, but all the deals that you have done in the history of deals, right? So we're looking at the entire portfolio. And if the portfolio isn't performing, then maybe I can't raise your advance. But if it is performing, then, let's talk. And you have to, and that's honestly, guys, relationship. So if you have that bank where you can call them up and say, look, I need help on this one. This is why I believe in this deal. This is why I believe in these customers, blah, blah, blah. Then maybe that bank can extend a little bit more. But 1,000,000%, it's all about communication, both in the customer that's in front of you, the car. So the bank over time learns very, very well how you recondition your cars. Are you just doing really fancy details? Or are you really fixing stuff?
Right. Right. That's great. That's great.
It's true. So we have to take all of those things into account. Also, what kind of products do you use? Are you selling warranties? What kind of products are they? Are they the cheapest ones or are they really good ones? So you have to take all of that into account.
So you literally go into and look at how a dealership reconditions their vehicles. I mean, you guys pay attention that much as far as, because I mean, that makes sense. We're kind of representing each other. Is that something you guys really pay attention to?
Absolutely. It's something that you pay attention to for sure. And, me being in the dealerships every day, I see things, I pick things up, I see what products are you using? You're using that one, don't use that one with me, sell that one, all of that kind of stuff. But you see their service drive, you see how they recondition those cars, what they're really doing. And plus, once you get to know the guys on a human level, not just bank and dealer, but as people, then, you start sharing a little bit of information. So they might tell you something that you're like, I'm going to remember that shit,
Yeah. Yeah. How do you guys typically balance your portfolios as far as I apologize, I'm not familiar with. Are you like all A paper, B paper, C paper, D paper? I mean, are you full spectrum? Are you what is your niche?
Sure. So Pronto Finance, we're actually a subprime finance company. So
I love that.
All subprime all day. And actually what we specialize in is kind of an unconventional customer because we help people who might not be able to get car loans otherwise. For example, people who get cash income, job letters, handwritten stubs, we can do all of that stuff. Also passports, IDs from different countries, no driver's license. We can work with all of that kind of stuff.
Powerful. That's so powerful. And listen, kudos to you for a subprime lender to be paying attention to that. I mean, my hat's off to you. Congratulations. That's wonderful to hear.
Thank you. It's because the way that I look at it is, and this is actually what attracted me to Pronto Finance, is that we're helping people who need cars. These are people just like anybody else who need a car to drive their family around, to go to work, to come back safely. We don't want people driving, cars for $1,000 that are just going to break down and put their family in jeopardy. And that's another reason why the social media stuff is so important, not to circle all the way back. But if you are a dealership that works in subprime, then you can target people like the people that Pronto targets, and you can tell them, listen, you guys deserve and can buy a wonderful car for your family that won't break down. These are the products that you need. This is how we're going to service the car. We're not going to trick you. All of the transparency stuff in the videos that you put out so that people trust you and they come and they understand and they buy and they repeat and they refer and all of that good stuff.
Wow, that's amazing.
Love it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, so we're getting close to that time. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what you do, and I don't know, do a 2-3 minute commercial or whatever. I always like to give people an opportunity to talk about anything that you have that's upcoming. Let us know how we can get in touch with you. If anybody wants to reach out, if you want to talk a little bit more about anything specific about your niche or now is the time.
That was it. You put me right on the spot.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I guess we talked a little bit about the customer that we can help, of course. So like I mentioned, Pronto Finance is currently in Illinois and Wisconsin. And so if you're in Illinois and Wisconsin and you're not working with us and you need another source for subprime, then definitely hit me up. Also, Texas. We just opened up Texas. I think we have over 100 dealers signed in Texas for sure. All of the major cities. The whole state is open though. So my number is 847-857-9322. That's Vicky Lopez. And so if you have a need for subprime, Texas, Illinois, Wisconsin, absolutely hit me up. Like I mentioned, passports, no driver's license, matricula, cash income, all of that good stuff.
Right on. And we're going to put it on the show notes too, folks. So definitely go there. Just in case you missed it here. All right. So there's one question I ask everybody that comes on the show, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
The question, Herb. Oh my gosh, the question.
Yeah.
So let's see. I think we're headed into a place where we're going to start putting the customer first, where we really do start thinking about how do I make my customer comfortable in this situation and in this environment. So what I mean by that, or what I envision by that, is even, let's say, this is something I've been thinking a lot about, so I'm going to go right to this example, but even something in the service bay where you have, let's say, 10 customers just hanging out, trying not to fall asleep on their iPhones. That's not a good experience. Those customers are not having a good time. Now, let me take you to Applebee's. Do you guys have Applebee's by you? Some restaurant where they have those cool little trivia game thingies at the table now, so that while you're bored waiting for your food, what if we had that in the dealership, you guys? While people are waiting for a service, they can be doing the trivia. You could have a TV with the cooking channel, but then you can have a TV with the trivia. They can be playing against each other. Come on, that would be so cool. And then right?
Yes. I want to go there.
I'm saying, and then that way, when the sales guy comes over to try to get people from the service drive to buy cars, now they have something to break the ice instead of just, what are you in for? They can actually talk about the trivia, what's going on, engage a little bit, actually have something to talk about. So, but those kinds of elements that are super duper small, but could make all the difference in the world, I think that's what we're going to start to head to. Because in my opinion, Carvana, for example, I mentioned earlier, Carvana doesn't sell cars, you guys. In my view, personally, Carvana sells time. Why am I going to Carvana versus my local Honda store, for example? Because ain't nobody got time for that. If I can just go to the internet and pick out a car, then let's do that. So that's another thing that we are going to need to start figuring out in the brick and mortars is, how do I give people back their time? So if we can do those fun little things like the trivia, for example, then people don't see their time as wasted so much, number one, but then also home deliveries and all of that kind of stuff to give people back their time.
Yeah, convenience. I totally agree. Love it. Vicky, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. I feel like we can go for hours here. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Eric, thanks for making it, man.
Oh, for sure, dude, for sure.
You guys, this was so much fun. I'm humbled and honored that you would ask me to come on. Eric, Herb, thank you so much. Honestly.
Right on. No, like I said, it's been a pleasure. We'll have to have you back for part 2, because I'm sure that there's more stuff that we can talk about. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, folks. As usual, we'll talk later. You made it all the way to the end. Congratulations. Thank you so much for tuning in. We truly, truly appreciate it. If you like this episode and you think of somebody that can benefit from this information, please make sure to share it. Share this podcast so that they can take these insights back to the dealership and implement on their day-to-day. Thank you so much. And as usual, we'll talk later. You made it all the way to the end. Congratulations. Thank you so much for tuning in. We truly, truly appreciate it. If you like this episode and you think of somebody that can benefit from this information, please make sure to share it. Share this podcast so that they can take these insights back to the dealership and implement on their day-to-day. Thank you so much. And as usual, we'll talk later.